In this video, I'm going to be talking about a recent update we saw to an existing mod that really put it on my radar and probably there to stay. The mod I'm referring to today is OpenMW, referring to Open Morrowind. So you might be thinking to yourself, how could a Morrowind mod possibly be relevant to Skyrim or even Fallout 3 or New Vegas? And well, in this video, I'm going to explain how. I had a couple of you guys send me messages around this, and although I was aware of its existence, one of the recent updates that they did post around this should get you pretty excited about the future of it and how it could bring a fairly fundamental change to modding or even just playing some of the older Bethesda RPGs like Fallout 3, New Vegas, and Skyrim, such as one feature bringing multiplayer to all of those games. That's actually how this was originally introduced to me as an alternative to Skyrim Together. If you guys aren't familiar, Skyrim Together has had some less than positive press over the past couple of weeks. I do have a full video up on that if you guys are interested in the situation. As of right now, it doesn't seem like the mod is going anywhere, but there have been some other updates around the story, so I'll probably have a follow-up video coming in the next couple of days. So what is OpenMW? Well, effectively, it is a new engine for Morrowind. This is quite distinctive from a lot of the other mods we see out there, which is using the existing engine. This one's basically giving the game a totally new one, and obviously a vamped up one. So what this is doing is improving on the Gamebryo engine. That was the engine Bethesda used for Oblivion, Morrowind, Fallout 3, and New Vegas. Although as of right now, as you could guess by the title, the engine is really only functional with Morrowind. But we'll get back to that in a second. You might be asking yourself, well, why does that matter? Why do you need a new engine? Well, first and foremost, one of the most notable changes is where you could actually run this. This allows you to play Morrowind on Linux, Windows, and Mac, and technically even Android, although they're not supposed to publicize that. But even further, with this custom and open source engine, it allows you to modify the game on a more fundamental level, do things that otherwise existing modding techniques couldn't really accomplish, increasing the mod cap from 255 mods to much higher, improving the physics and AI, changing the way some of the save and quick save mechanics work, and actually how those are handled and loaded by the game. But also, of course, since this is a separate engine, none of those old school Bethesda bugs that we're so used to seeing throughout all of their various games. Although fortunately, this actually supports many of the existing Morrowind mods. So it's not like all of that past work is totally undone if you want to run the game through this thing. But even further, one of the other really cool components of this is people using this new engine have actually added multiplayer into Morrowind. It functions fairly similar to Skyrim Together on a hypothetical scale. You can play through the entire game in co-op with some of your friends while also using mods and things like that. It honestly is quite cool. One of the big differences is this is all open source. There's no Patreon required for this. There's no hidden code or private files. If you want to see what's actually going on behind the scenes or even create a branch of this project for your own use, you can totally do that. And to be clear, all of those are existing features with this. It's not really a mod, I just go to call it a mod. The new engine brought by Open Morrowind. You can download it right now and get increased stability, play with some of your friends in multiplayer. It actually is pretty crazy, and it has certainly gotten quite a few additional people playing that otherwise fairly old game that probably wouldn't even think about it. And the special or rather cool part is how all of that, all those cool features could start making their way into some of the more modern games like New Vegas 3 and Skyrim. In a recent update to this project, they actually added in the ability to read BSA files from Oblivion, Skyrim, Fallout 3, and New Vegas. These are effectively the files you could find on your computer for some of these games containing all of the various assets you do see, models and maps, voices, and textures. So with the ability to open these files in OpenMW, you now can actually see these world spaces running in that engine. And in a future update, they mentioned how they're going to get some of the newer file types used by some of the more modern games to also work through this. So this is a really big deal, and for some of you, it might not be immediately obvious as to why it's such a big deal, but take for example Fallout 3. Getting Fallout 3 running on Windows 10 has a lot of frustrations. You'll probably go through several crashes, and even the performance sometimes just has oddities and hiccups. If Fallout 3 hypothetically got ported over to OpenMW, that would pretty much all go away. It would be running on a more modern engine with further improvements, and all of that would be reflected in the stability of the game, but also some of the other aspects, like how quickly you load interiors, how the AI is handled, the physics engine, but also other things like multiplayer. Since the work they have right now is being done on an engine level for Morrowind using Open Morrowind, that would be portable to Fallout or Skyrim or Fallout New Vegas. The multiplayer you see right here wouldn't all have to be scrapped and start over when you want to do it for Fallout 3. You could use what you have there, make some adjustments for these other games, but it wouldn't be as big of a process of just building it from the ground up. And even further, that's one of the other really big implications of this. Going from Morrowind to, let's say, a game like Fallout 3 isn't as big of a feat when you look at it in the sense that all they would have to do is add in the features that Fallout 3 has that Morrowind didn't. Now, it's not to say that isn't a considerable task, but let's say once you have that done for Fallout 3, then the task becomes even smaller when you want to do it for Fallout New Vegas, because there was considerably less changes from Fallout 3 to New Vegas. And as far as community projects go, I would say this is one of the ones that I have the most hope for as far as actually bringing features like multiplayer or even just a remaster as far as the stability of the game goes for New Vegas and Fallout 3. I wouldn't be shocked if down the line the way we experience those games is through this, not through the old and clunky way we are now. And even further, if you're concerned, oh, what if Bethesda shuts this down? That's not really a thing, because in effect what's going on here is they built an engine that can run several different games. They have examples of other games that are presently being worked on in this, most of them just a proof of concept. One of the games this also can run is Morrowind. You have to own it legally, and obviously Bethesda could try and take actions to shut this down if they wanted to, but it's not as clear cut as with a lot of the other mods out there, because what they're doing here is very independent of a lot of Bethesda's modding tools or even the game itself. They also actually have discussed this with Bethesda and do have official support from them, with the one stipulation being they can't promote images of Morrowind running on Android, which is actually in and of itself pretty interesting. That may be a route Bethesda is taking behind the scenes right now, and that could explain that. But they're not remastering Morrowind, that's why they're fine with all the other aspects of this project. But even further, Fallout 3 running on Android is something that this project could make a reality. So there's a couple of reasons I wanted to talk about this project. First and foremost, they are recruiting. So if you do want to help and get some of these things accomplished even quicker, that would obviously be amazing for pretty much all of us. As I mentioned before, everything is totally open source and everything going forward will remain that way. And there really isn't a huge money component. Even though you can donate to certain developers individually, there's no pool of money they are accepting. But also with the recent news around Skyrim Together, I wanted to put things on more of a brighter note. I know a lot of people are very uncertain or even scared for the future of that mod, or even based on their past actions will just not partake even if the mod does end up getting released. Open Morrowind shows a lot of promise. It could be a really big deal, and it is without a doubt something to look forward to. Even if Bethesda are pretty committed to not remastering some of the older games, this could be an alternative one day. So with all of that being said, hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. As always, again, I thank you for watching, and with that, I hope to see you all next time. Later.